Hi friends, this is Carly and I'm back again with another review. So today we're going to be taking a look at two figures for the price of one for a couple of reasons. First of all, it has taken me just way too long to get through all of the Shang-Chi cinematic figures. I apologize for that, but I do want to finish them up because there's some things about Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings that I also want to discuss at the end of this video. So today we're going to be taking a look at Shang-Chi and Wen Wu side by side, summing up how I feel about the whole set, and then talking about what I think is happening with the action figures that we're seeing in stores right now. So here we go. Let's start off our review today with Wen Wu. This is the Mandarin. He is the head of the Ten Rings. He's played by actor Tony Leung, and he is Shang-Chi's father. So the story of this movie is the Mandarin allowing Shang-Chi to go live his life. He has trained him his whole life to be an assassin for the Ten Rings and lets him go for 10 years to live his life as a normal child, and then he has to come back and do his duty for the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi ultimately decides that he's not going to do that. He doesn't want to be a part of his father's villainous organization, and this is the separation of father and son in this sort of epic battle. In the comic books, this character was called Fu Manchu. He is the Mandarin in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we know the Ten Rings because they were responsible for kidnapping Tony Stark and holding him captive in Afghanistan, forcing him to build tech that led to him ultimately building the Iron Man suit. He again turned up, not he personally, but the Mandarin was responsible also for Whiplash coming, and Mandarin was responsible for the kidnapping of Rhodes. So he has been a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe all along, and now in this second phase, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in this movie to either remove him from power or make him an even more powerful enemy in the future. So this is a really epic turning point for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this figure is really exciting to put a face finally to this villain. It's really beautifully sculpted. Again, as I've said with the previous figures in this line, the face sculpts are a complete and total triumph for me. They've all been really perfectly spot on. They look just like the actors that they are intended to. This is no exception to that rule. Again, we've got beautiful sculpting and patterning on the tunics, the body armor. The print work on his lower body tunic is really beautiful and printed beautifully. In this particular case, I don't think there is a better way to have probably expressed this pattern on fabric. I don't think that would have worked, so I think vinyl was the right option. But I have to say again, I'm really frustrated that they didn't do a simple button snap closure on the back of this to make it removable. Again, we have a martial arts character. There's going to be an epic fight between our main character and this character who we know is a powerful man and a powerful warrior, and to not be able to move the body of the action figure just isn't acceptable to me. That said, we do have some really beautiful details on this figure that I really appreciate and like. For instance, we have the actual 10 rings on his forearms here. Now, whether those are going to be metaphorical 10 rings, the 5 rings on this arm and the 5 rings on this arm, or whether they're an artifact remains to be seen in the cinematic universe, but it's really cool to kind of have those here on our main villain. And again, let's just take a really close look at the sculpt. It's stunning. It's perfect. It looks just like the actor. His weapon that he comes with is this really cool sword. I looked for what the name of this was and could not find it. If anyone knows what this sort of hook end sword is called, please let me know in the comments below. I wasn't able to find a name for it, but there's some really cool etching in the blade of this sword. It's a really cool looking weapon, and as you saw in the beginning of the video, he holds it really well. He also comes with 2 additional sets of hands. There is this sort of claw hook hand and a closed and semi-closed fist. Now, the great thing about Shang-Chi and Wen Wu is that they each come with 2 additional sets of hands, and the hands are interchangeable. So if you buy both figures, it's kind of like a really wild assortment of hands. That's pretty cool because the skin tones match. So that's really cool that you can use all of the different hands, and they are all slightly different. We'll look at Shang-Chi in just a minute. But once again, with this tunic, I finally decided, after looking at a lot of people altering their figures and playing with their figures or skipping them entirely because of this, that on my Katie, my Shang-Chi, or I'm sorry, my Wenwu and my Death Dealer, I'm going to be cutting these off. I have never altered a figure that way other than my vintage Spider-Man, vintage Peter Parker with the goggles. I cut those off and was glad that I did it. I have to get rid of these tunics because I want to play with these figures and they're just not mobile with these pieces on. It's really unfortunate and frustrating for me because, like I said, this is a beautiful piece, but because it hinders the range of motion on this character so much, it makes him almost useless. It's basically a statue. So I'm going to cut that off, and I'll be sharing pictures after I cut off the vinyl overlay pieces on my Instagram. So please make sure to check those out. It's Your Annoying Friend Car with underscores between all the words. You'll see what these look like after the fact. Because of this tunic, I'm not going to be doing the articulation on this figure. The articulation on the figures that I have done so far has been really smooth. Particularly, I'm noticing a lot of movement in the heads that I haven't seen before. Sorry, I'm getting focused here. So the head movement is really great, really smooth, and everything works really well when there's nothing in the way. So that is Wen Wu. Again, a stunningly beautiful figure with a gorgeous face sculpt, just simply isn't mobile because of the vinyl overlay. And here is our Shang-Chi. This character is played by Canadian actor Simu Liu. And again, the facial sculpt is spot on perfect. What I really like about this casting is that these actors really could be father and son, I think. I think they look so similar in just the right ways that it looks like father and son to me. So I really think this is great casting. And the great thing about Shang-Chi is that he doesn't have anything hindering his range of motion. Again, there is beautiful pattern work on his upper body armor. He's just wearing black trousers and sneakers, which I think is really cool. I think it speaks to what we saw in the preview where he goes, makes friends with Katie, and is just a normal dude sort of working and living a normal average life. I think that's really cool that they sort of pay homage to that he's just a guy, but he's gonna do the right thing. And he's got this staff weapon, which is really cool looking. It's got a little bit more detail and color than the other weapons we've seen. I mean, it's pretty sturdy as these types of weapon go. I like it. It's all right. And then he comes with his weapon holding hands. These sort of claw hands. Like this. Then we've got these, what almost look like snapping fingers. Sorry, I don't know why I'm holding those way over there like that. Yeah. So again, the skin tone match on these figures is so close that you can actually use all of these hands together. So that is kind of a bonus if you buy both of the figures. With this figure, we actually can look at the articulation and the range of motion, which is really, really good. The heads are what I'm really most happy with. I don't know what changed there, but I feel like they're just smoother. They just move, they're just better. The shoulders, the lateral lift is really great. The wrists are, it's like a soft motion, but they hold their position really well, which is great. The turn in the bicep is lovely. Everything just works the way that it should. They hold poses really well. So that's another thing that's frustrating about those overlays is that I know that when I take them off, I'm going to be able to do everything I could possibly imagine with the figures. So articulation on these is really, really nice. A really nice forward ab crunch. You know, sometimes we don't see, or in the past we hadn't seen like a really complete range of motion with places in between. This one, it's dramatic. So that's excellent. And I like the way that the abdomen looks. Like, it's just more flush and natural looking to me. We have a really good turn in the waist. And the detail work with the pattern on these goes into the side panels of his outfit too. So everything about this is really like worked over. They put a lot of thought and detail into all of the, you know, etching and pattern work on the cloth. And just to make this look really realistic and intricate, there are small painted details, which I love. And I really love the printed overlays. If I can find a way to make those work so that I can remove them and put them back on, I will. I think they're just gonna have to go though. So he does have this little overhang on the top part of his jacket, but it's pretty flexible, so we can still get a pretty good range of motion with his legs. He has a regular turning thigh, which we're used to seeing. The knees have been great since forever, and the feet are great like they have been, with a really great range of motion in the ankles. So the articulation on these is really good, and it'll be exciting to get the hindrance off the other figures and start using them again. And overall, as I've said, the way these figures look side by side, I feel like they look like father and son, and they look like the actors who are playing the characters in the films. So I am really happy, again, with the craftsmanship that went into the artistic elements of these figures. The only thing that has bothered me to this point are the vinyl overlays. And now that I've decided to remove those, we'll see if that changes my enjoyment of the figures overall. So these are all really great figures. They all look really good. They've been fun to play with. They've been fun to, I had them on my shelf. I'm changing my shelves again because I have so many toys coming in. But I can't help but notice that when I'm out in the store, I am seeing Shang-Chi figures everywhere. I've even seen an entire rack of Katie's at my local Target, which I never have seen. I don't think I've ever seen one exclusive at my personal local Target. And I'm just wondering what you guys think that might be about. So I really want to just open a discussion with everybody and see like why you think these figures aren't moving. Is it because they were released so far ahead of the movie, which doesn't come out until September, that the one preview, the one little teaser trailer wasn't quite enough and people just aren't ready to be excited about it? Because as I've said, the change in the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a lot of villainy has taken place in the past because of the Mandarin. So having him be the first sort of villain that we're defeating in this next phase is a really big deal. So this should be something that everybody is really excited for. And for all intents and purposes, everything I've heard, people are really excited about this movie. But the figures just aren't moving. Now, I also just got my Disney Plus figures, and I'm wondering if you think that the timing of the release of these figures was a mistake. For the reason that the Disney Plus figures are nowhere to be found. They're flying off the shelves. People pre-ordered them. People wanted them because they got to see WandaVision and the Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, before the figures were announced. And with that happening, those being such big hits, throwing a Loki in was no big deal. We're all really excited for that. We know it's going to be really good. So these were figures that we were excited to have. They were leading people to order old figures of the characters just to have them because they were excited about them again. And then when the figures of the actual Disney Plus characters came out, no one could wait. We have excitement about the Legend of the Ten Rings sort of brewing, but nobody's gotten to see it yet. So do you think that they should have waited until after the movie to release these figures? Or do you think these are introductory figures and that we'll be getting more advanced, more interesting, or more in-depth sort of spoiler figures after the movie? I'm just wondering what your guys' thoughts are on that, because it's really disappointing to see such beautiful figures just sitting on the shelves everywhere that I go. Let me know if you guys are buying these figures, what you think of them, if the overlays are keeping you from buying them altogether, or if you just don't think they're as good as I do. I think they're really good looking overall, but I have heard people say that they thought that maybe the sculpts were a little bit dull. I'm interested to know what you guys think. So that is the end of the Shang-Chi cinematic figures. We're going to be looking at the rest of the Mr. Hyde series and Mr. Hyde himself. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Look forward to my photographs on Instagram of the removed overlay figures, and I will be back soon with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye, friends.